Brendan, just sum up your feelings heading into another Champions League campaign.
Yeah, clearly we're very excited and looking forward to it. It's a special competition, obviously. This club has got a great and rich history in, so yeah, we're excited about it.
It's obviously it's a new format. There's an element of the unknown or difference compared to what we've seen previously. How do you feel about that now that the games are upon us?
Yeah, I think everyone probably did feel that, especially going into the draw and the expectation. Well, what was that going to be like? And I think that everyone would agree that it was good. So I'm hoping that the actual competition itself will be similar. So I think it's fantastic over the different types of teams and games that we have. The club going to some of these teams for the first time, and the supporters getting the chance to travel to some great cities. But from a football perspective, it's a great opportunity for us to test our qualities against some of the best teams, and that's always the big challenge from a coaching and a managing perspective.
I suppose what it can mean is, unlike other seasons, you have a Champions League game here where your big favourites perhaps more akin to the Scottish Premiership fixture or a Europa League fixture. Does that change anything in your mindset?
Not really. I think it's normal in terms of it's not, we come into every game and respect every single opponent that we'll play, and obviously there'll be a narrative around this game which I totally get, but I look at Bratislava and I only have to go through my own experiences here. They've had 4 games, so 4 ties, 8 games to actually get to this stage, and so the amount of work and fight and spirit they needed to have to reach this level, you can never ever underestimate that. So for some it might not be fashionable, there might be other teams with bigger histories and bigger clubs, but for us, we know that it's a team we have to really respect, but we also know that we're playing at home. We're in a really good mood, playing well, intense, being consistent, and we just want to take that and bring that energy to the stands, and hopefully we can have a really good night, but we know we have to really work hard.
Just finally, in a more general sense, some high-profile players have spoken today, Rodgers amongst them, about the format and more games and the burden that puts on players and so on. I wonder how you feel about that from a manager's perspective. Is it an understandable concern?
Yeah, I think it's something I've mentioned before. I think that if I look to where football may be heading, you're maybe looking at a 12-month season, really. It used to be that you had that sort of summer break, and that was near enough assured for a player perspective, but I think in particular the top players as well. And we look at our own selves in our own country, we'll hopefully go deep in the competitions, so you get all of those games plus the international games, and yeah, I totally understand where it's coming from, but it's also he's not moaning about games. It's about the quality. It's about the quality of games, and of course, when the first thing that goes is technical ability, when you're tired and fatigued, and what we always want is the best product for the supporters, and so every football player loves to play, they love to train, but they want to produce quality and be able to be at the best as often as they can be. So it's a natural concern. I totally get it.
In terms of this Champions League campaign, Brendan, and looking back to last season, what's the biggest thing you think you learned about your squad, yourself, last season that you can bring into this new formatted campaign?
I think it was just, listen, if you look at the nuts and bolts of it, people will say you only got 4 points, and then they'll cry about that, and then the season before and the season before. For me, I look at it, I thought last year it was decisive moments, probably apart from the game away in Madrid, where we lost the man early on in the game and we got punished by a team that got to the quarter-final, and they made real good use of playing against 10 men. I think the other games, I thought we showed up well in, and we could have won the Lazio game, should never have lost it, so that's a learning. Feyenoord at home, we were good, we won the game. Away in Feyenoord, we were right in the game, had the best opportunities early on, then we concede just before half time, and then we obviously lose 2 men in the game, so that was a challenge. So I think there was a lot to learning in it, but for me, looking at it, I'm thinking if we could strengthen the squad, then we could take another step and be closer, and we've been able to do that. So I think that we've seen that through pre-season. We used the games against Man City and Chelsea as Champions League preparation games, and how we set the team up and how we tried to play and work. So I think we arrive into it, hopefully having learned from last season and knowing that at this level it is about not just the details, the really small details that make the difference. And because every team you play, and like the questions, everyone, the narrative of Bratislava and whatever else, every team comes here thinks they're a big team. When you're a champion of your own country, whatever that country is, then you believe that you're a really good team, and that's why you play in the Champions League. So most teams come with confidence, and the confidence to play, and that's what you always have to respect. But for us, it's still about us and how we play and our work, and I think that hopefully we can show that over the 8 games.
You mentioned the point about quality. You've brought many teams into this Champions League campaigns as Celtic manager. In terms of this group of players that you have now, how does this compare to previous squads that you've had, both in terms of quality, readiness for the competition, and potential to go further?
Well, there's absolutely no doubt. This feels like the most ready I've been as a Celtic manager coming into a Champions League campaign, naturally because of the qualification phase and the doubt around all of that, and then trying to then get players in late on the back of that. Last season, coming in, trying to find out about players and managing them through that, and then seeing them in the competition. But having had a year under my belt back here and seeing all the players and being able to improve a lot of the areas that I want, there's still areas that we want to improve in, but certainly the readiness is a great word. I think we that feeling of arriving at this first game will have been the best place that probably I've been in since I've been here.
Just finally, you mentioned that narrative a couple of times about Celtic being the favourites. Whether you agree with that narrative or not, does it add a bit of pressure though that there is that narrative building that this is the best chance to get 3 points so far and kick on with the campaign?
Not really. No. I think outside of the club maybe, but certainly not within the football. We cope with pressure every week. I think that's what being a Celtic player and in particular a Celtic manager is. So there's no change in that aspect. And then the key thing, and of course, is my job then to regulate that pressure for the squad and allow them to go and express themselves and play. And that's what we've been doing. We've been thought about what we want to achieve from the summer. We now go into this first game. We're playing at home. We want to start off with a really good performance and get 3 points. And we'll be bringing that energy to the game and intensity to hopefully make that happen. But the pressures are part of the job here.
Goody.
Brendan, with that squad you have now and the readiness you now feel, am I right in thinking this is where you want to be judged now, this elite European level in terms of the next stage of your evolution? You personally, but the squad as well.
But you judge me however you want to judge me. You know, I've managed big games before, and believe it or not, I've actually won big games. So I have. But for us as a football club, we want to make that progress from participating to being competitive, and that's. But listen, whether it's domestic or European level, you're always judged. You're getting judged every day you train. You know, every time you train, every time you play at Celtic, it's a real test of your character and mentality. So this is a competition clearly we want to do well in, and we want to grow in. And but I feel we're in a really good place to do that.
And do you feel that about the club as a whole as well? Because your recent financial statement looks pretty healthy, and it looks like you got the backing that you were looking for in terms of the calibre of player and the level of player that you wanted.
Yeah, the club were great, absolutely brilliant over the course of the pre-season. We had to push, we wanted to bring in the right calibre of player, because it's not just about a player. I've always said that. There's lots of players that we can bring here. What's important is to bring the right player that's going to improve this squad. You've seen the early season form, you know, without really the players that we've brought in. The rhythm of the team and the quality of the team has been really, really good. The level of performance has been consistent and aggressive and everything that I'd want. But I always want more, and I want to bring that there into a European stage. and for that, then you need that calibre of player. So the club have backed me great with that, and going forward, we want to add a few more as well that will help evolve that as well. But currently, as I say here, we're in a really good place. You know, I come into the stadium, I look around the stadium. It's really exciting, the work that's gone on behind the scenes here, and making this amazing place to come and work in and play football in and support. So yeah, on and off the pitch, we're in a really good place.
On that backing and the fees spent on some of the players this summer, do you feel that now comes with added expectation going into this European stage?
Not one bit, no. Not one bit. I don't set the fees. The player doesn't set the fee. It's what it's what clubs or sometimes the situation means that we have to pay. But we've spent money, but we've brought a lot of money in. We brought more in. So it's there's no pressure. The only pressure is the football pressure. The football pressure for us to want to do well and perform well.
I think the expectation as well with this new format is that 8 or 9 points should be good enough to see the club go into the top 24, into the knockout stage. How big would it feel to kick off with 3 points and have 7 games remaining after that?
Yeah, that would be great. That'd be a great first step for us. As I said, there are 8 brilliant games, intense games, great competition. So we, of course, clearly would want to do that. And obviously having a back-to-back Champions League victories. You know, we had our last game here at Feyenoord where we win, and then to open up and win a game would be a real good feeling and put everyone in a good mood, and then we can carry that through into the other games.
Brendan used to refer under the old format to maybe a target of finishing third European football after Christmas. Is there an equivalent in this format, you think?
I think our intention firstly is to reach the playoff. I think if you look at the teams that go through, then over the course of the 8 games, I think you're really looking to reach that playoff phase. That would certainly be the objective that I would set first and foremost, and then from there you can then gauge it. So, but yeah, the points total that you mentioned, the destination where we want to get to, certainly the first protocol would be that.
Just wanted to ask as well, interesting selection dilemma in midfield where you have Bernardo, you have Engels, you have Fatati, you have McGregor. Good selection dilemma, I would imagine.
Brilliant. It's absolutely what I would want, because I know that I can't use 3 players the whole season. It's not about just one player. The midfield is about the 3, but it's also about having the numbers there that when you take one off or you have to recover when you can put one on, it doesn't change. If you look at the level that Paulo Bernardo's been at since he's come back, he's now really settled back in. He now feels like he's a Celtic player. Having come back late to us, trained ever so well, comes on some games, came into the Rangers game was outstanding. But that's how it'll work over the course of the season. You know, there's not a starting 11. You know, it's really, really important for us how we play and the energy we play. Our subs are absolutely vital for us. That's what can give us an advantage. But there's a cost to how we play with the intensity and the work and everything. So that means our bench has to be strong, and that's the readiness that we talk about. That makes me feel in a really good place that we have that bench. So the 3 that are starting, and the players know this from my perspective, everyone wants to start a game, of course they do, but over the course of the season a lot of them will do that at various times, and sometimes they'll be on the bench to come into the game. So it will just depend on the game that we play.
Craig.
Brendan, apologies if I've got my statistics wrong, but I think it's almost exactly 10 years to the day since you had your first taste of the group stages when you were at Liverpool. Can you give us an insight into who the man was then and what you've learned, you know, the manager that you were then, how much you've learned, how much you've taken on board from then, how it's changed? Give us an idea of that.
It's not getting any easier, that's for sure. Listen, it's an elite competition. I obviously didn't have too many games at Liverpool in the Champions League. Most of my Champions League history has been with Celtic. So I think in terms of from a managing perspective, I've clearly developed a lot since that, 39, 40 years of age, and 51 now, and had a lot more games under my belt, much more experience, and played against a lot of the big teams and big competitions around the world. So no, I think it's a level that's a real challenging level, and for teams like ourselves, we have to be at our absolutely maximum to benefit, especially how the game has grown and developed in the financial side over the last numbers of years. But what I always believe in, that here's a club that if we can get our squad to a really competitive level, what we can do here at home can make it a really special place to be, and still we can be really competitive at this level, and that's what I've always wanted us to be. There's been a lot of occasions where, and no fault of the players, because the players here and all my times here, look to the first period, give me absolutely everything, but the level, we just weren't at that level. That's the reality of it. But players were good players, but maybe our depth wasn't quite there. But I look at us now as a club progressing, looking to look forward. You see where the club have supported us fantastic in the summer, and we want to be able to do that again in some other areas, because we want to keep growing. We don't want just the benchmark to be domestic. We want to improve and do well in Europe. So it's an amazing level to be involved in. I love the challenge. I relish the challenge. The players do. We love playing at it, and that's why you work all year, to win your league, to win your title, to get to nights like tomorrow night, which will be amazing feeling.
As a coach, Brendan, do you still get challenges at this kind of level, and also maybe see things that you learn from and take into your own kind of management and coaching going forward?
It's not so much that. Now, you see it more in players. You see how top players have that belief. I think that's what I've always said. These for Champions League really is belief games. These are the games where I've been fortunate enough in my career to work with world-class players and really top-level players in the European game, and one of the biggest attributes is that belief mechanism they have. They believe they should be there. And this is what we're trying to develop here, players that can consistently believe that not just participation is enough, but to go and compete. And you can absolutely do that, But in order to want more, you have to give more, and that's what we aim to do. So, but there's always learning. There's learning. It doesn't matter if it's Bratislava or Borussia Dortmund or St Johnstone. I will always learn, and I will be curious enough to respect all the players, managers that I'm up against, and analyse and assess where I can be better.
Brendan, the club obviously published very positive financial results yesterday, but how much will doing well in the Champions League, will progressing in the Champions League help you when it comes to strengthening the squad further going forward, to bringing in the players that get the team to where you want it to be?
Listen, we have a model here which we all understand, and we can push that boat out at times to be able to help us improve, So, and the club have shown that they've done that, which is absolutely brilliant. I think that, like I say, it's great for the club. We all want to invest in the team. The board do, I do. The players want the challenge of competition in the squad, and I think that by competing and participating at this level and doing well at this level, as well as domestically, always improves that opportunity to improve the squad.
Hi Brendan.
Hi.
Just going back on a question earlier, you spoke about discipline. Is it important this year that the discipline is better than last year's campaign? Obviously away to Feyenoord, 2 red cards, and then going to Madrid away, an early red card, and also Palma picking up 2 bookings over the course of the games and get suspended, and it ended up being for the Lazio game that we started with 2 wingers that we probably wouldn't have started with in the first place. Is that important this year that the discipline is better?
It's a great question, eh? But as you put it like that, absolutely. But it is. I think it's a change in officiating when you get to this level as well. I think every player will tell you from the domestic British game to go into Europe is different. some of those, the sending it off, especially Dysan's, and that was very harsh, I felt. But these are the things that you have to be cute enough at the level to understand.